Welcome back, guys. Got a little bit of a different video for you today. If you're wanting to see me actually use the simulator for something useful, that will come in the second half of this video, but I've got to kind of give some context as to what's going on here and give you a little bit of background. So as I sit here today in early 2025, my golf game is not great. In fact, it's trending downward and has been for the last year or a little bit more, which is not what I want to see, obviously. In a recent video, I asked you guys how you felt about me incorporating a little bit of my own personal game improvement onto this YouTube channel. I don't feel like anybody cares to see that. You guys just want to see the product reviews and all that. I'm not a pro golfer or even close to scratch. But the comments that you guys were leaving about that question pretty much all said the same thing, which is we are all trying to improve our own games with the home simulator. So yes, we are interested in seeing how you use it to do it for yourself. So that's kind of what this video is. This is going to be the first video on really a series of me trying to get my handicap back to what it almost was. So let's give you a little bit of context for the last few years of my golf game. I played golf in high school on the golf team. I kind of picked it up late, so I was never near good enough to play in college. And once I got out of high school, I played recreationally for a few years, but then put the clubs up for a long time. I mean, I don't know if it was 13 years, something like that, give or take, where I didn't even swing a club. For whatever reason, around 2021, I decided to pull the clubs out and give golf another shot. I've always loved the game and just decided that that was the time to get back into it. As soon as I started a handicap, I think it started off around 14 or 15, and as I knocked the rust off for the first several months, pretty quickly got down to around 10. And at that point, I kind of trimmed the easy fat, but I'd like to get down to a 5. And so I set a goal to get from the 10 to a 5, and I signed up for lessons. I was on a plan at Golf Tech where I was going every week for a half-hour lesson. I did that for about a year and was really playing a lot. That was at the same time I bought my first launch monitor, which was FlightScope Mevo Plus, and set up a net and started this YouTube channel, all of that. Over that time period, I almost got to that 5 handicap. I got down to 5.6, very, very close. And I believe that was at the end of 2023. From that point on, the last year plus, maybe almost 18 months, somewhere between a year and 18 months, the handicap has just gone up and up and up and up and up. So here we are today, early 2025, and I am wanting to set that goal again of reaching the 5 handicap. I'm going to start including what I'm doing to do that on this channel. So if you say like, hey man, I don't care about that, just keep showing me the cool simulator stuff and product reviews and comparisons and all that stuff, don't worry, that will still come, but I will be sprinkling in these game improvement videos to the overall mix. Just to give you a little bit more background, I will share my screen here and let's look at what needs to happen here. So here is my current handicap. It is 8.7. You can see the low handicap is 6.0, but that's only because it only looks back a year. A little bit before that, a little over a year ago, it was down to 5.6. So if we look at my stats, we'll just go to 2022 scores. You can see 33 scores. My scoring average in 2022 was 84.6 with a low of 78. We go to 2023. Scoring average was 83.1 with a low of 77. Remember, that's when, towards the end of 2023, my handicap was the lowest. That was with 30 rounds. We go to 2024 scores. The scoring average goes way back up to 86.4 with a low of 81. I did not have a round in the 70s all of last year. It was a struggle last year, and that was with 24 rounds. Also, I was a little bit short. Didn't play quite as much as I did before, but almost there. What's the plan? How am I going to improve? How am I going to choose what to focus on? And for that, we're going to go over to the Arccos app, because for the last year, I have been using Arccos, which is kind of a stats app that uses sensors in your golf clubs. I'm sure you've probably seen them before. I'll show you a sensor. They screw into the end of your grip there on every club, and that's how Arccos knows what club you hit and from where on the golf course, because it ties into the GPS on the app. So If we open up the Arccos app, just to kind of give you an idea, Arccos is using strokes gained for the stats, which is a much more accurate way of looking at golf stats. And you can see right at the top, I am negative 5.9 strokes gained per round, and that's being compared to a 5 handicap. If you see at the top, it says compared to 5.0 handicap index using a 15 round average. So over the last 15 rounds, I am losing almost 6 strokes compared to a 5 handicap, which is my goal, if you remember, to get down to a 5. And then it breaks it down into those categories. So obviously you can see the biggest problem category is driving, right? Negative 3.3. Approach, negative 1.7. Short game, little less than 1 stroke I'm losing to a 5 handicap, and my putting is dead on with a 5 handicap. That means I putt like I'm a 5 already. And so we can break that down further, but we'll just look at the top insights. What to work on. Number 1, driving penalties. I'm losing over 3 strokes a round due to driving penalties. We're going to talk about that. Par 3 tee shots and 100 to 150 yard approach shots. All of that is hurting me the most. What's helping me? Driving distance, 25 to 50 foot putts and 50 foot plus putts. So as we saw, putting is fine. It's really driving and approach. That checks out. So let's dive into driving a little bit further. And obviously you can see it tracking it over time. But if we look at distance and accuracy, you can see distance is not the problem. Accuracy is showing negative 0.2, but penalties negative 3.3. Well, that's really accuracy too, because there wouldn't be a penalty if I was more accurate. So really it is accuracy that is my problem. And driving distance, just a caveat to that, it's showing my average distance off the tee is 243 yards. But at my home course where I play most often, I think I can only really hit my driver 7 times. So a lot of times off the tee, I'm hitting hybrid or a 5-wood or something like that. My distance with driver is actually much farther than that. So distance is really not the problem. It's all accuracy. The other thing about my home course is that it is super tight. It's in a neighborhood. There is out of bounds on left and right of every single hole. And a lot of the times around the edges, they slope away out of bounds. Out of bounds is a big factor here at my home course, and you can see I'm getting a lot of penalties from that, averaging 3.3 strokes per round. So obviously, we've got to figure something out to address that as much as possible. Driving was the big thing. Approach was the next thing. So if we want to dive deeper into that, we'll look at my approach. And we can see approach by pin distance. So strokes gained approach. You can see really the biggest problem there at all of these different ranges is the 125 to 150 yard range. Everything under 100 yards is not where I'd want it to be. I actually felt like previously that was a big strength of mine, was that 100 yards and in. Right now, it's not terrible, but I would want to see it closer to 0 on everything under 100 yards. Over that, I don't really know if that's a big focus problem, but we can very much see that that 125 to 150 problem or area is my biggest problem when it comes to approach by distance. You can also see it breaks down by terrain, and we're looking at off the tee on par 3s and fairway where I'm losing a lot of those strokes. So it comes down to my ball striking. The driver, I'm having trouble keeping it on the planet, and my approach game needs to be a lot better. You can see it does have regular greens and regulation. Looks like my tendency is to be short or right. If we go back to the overall breakdown, you can see the short game is a little bit less than a stroke that I'm losing. If we go down to the actual short game breakdown, you can see inside of 25 yards, really not a factor. 25 to 50 yards could do a little bit better. But again, the whole thing is less than a stroke that I'm losing to a 5 handicap. So we definitely want to improve there, but we're not going to focus on that as much as the ball striking on those approach shots and driving. That is why Arccos is really going to be helpful, I think, to making sure that I'm practicing on the right things, the things that I can get the most bang for my buck. Since my time is limited, I want to spend the time practicing on things that are going to have the biggest impact to my scores. It's basically gotten down to, at this point, where the only time that I am actually hitting balls in the simulator is whenever I am filming for this YouTube channel, or I am like testing out a launch monitor or something like that. I'm getting very little time to actually practice for my own game in here, which was the entire point of this simulator in the first place. So the idea is that I'm going to include some of that practice on this channel and hopefully give you guys progress checks along the way so that in this year, 2025, I want to get my handicap down to 5 like I always wanted to. I got so close before, and hopefully we can do it. So what does that mean? It means I'm going to be using different maybe skill challenges or different features of the different launch monitors that I have here to try and focus in on those areas and try and figure out the best drills or the best games, anything I can do to improve that driving accuracy and approach shots, anything that will help my game. Plus, we're going to be looking at some of the training aids that might be helpful that I have used in the past and maybe some new things. We saw that driving distance was not really an issue for me, but I've always felt that I'm leaving a lot of distance on the table. I feel like my swing speed should be much higher than it is. And so over the last several weeks, I've already started using the stack. That was something that I've always wanted to try, and ended up just getting, I think I bought it on Black Friday, saw it for a little bit of a discount, so I went ahead and got it, and just started using it a few weeks ago. I'm using it with the FlightScope Nevo Plus as the radar to track the swing speed, so we maybe include a little bit of that, even though that was not a big factor for me. But that's it, guys. I hope that it is beneficial. Like I said, I'm a little bit nervous about including like personal game improvement stuff on there. So if it is beneficial to you, if you're looking forward to it, please hit the like button on this video. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. I can see how many people subscribe to individual videos, so that will let me know that you guys are interested, even though a lot of you did comment on one of those previous videos. I appreciate that. Leave me a comment or just like and subscribe. I'm super excited about it because I like to improve. Like, that's what I like about golf, is it's a chance to like try and get better. And when I'm stagnant or I'm just getting worse because I don't have the time to practice or whatever, it sucks. I mean, last year really sucked on the golf course for me, and it was not a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll change that. Now, I told you we're gonna hit some balls. We're gonna switch over to one of the first things that I feel like I need to do on my approach game. And so let's jump into that. My first thought on those approach shots anywhere up to 150 yards is that I need to kind of reestablish my distances. And I want to go through the Wedge Matrix again. I've got a video on using the Wedge Matrix on SkyTrack. It's been a while. It's probably been a year or two or something like that. I think I need to do it again just to make sure that that baseline is right. My other thought is that really, again, only goes up to as far as I can hit my pitching wedge, but to get 150 yards, that's really up to an 8-iron for me. So I want to extend kind of the Wedge Matrix all the way to 8-iron. I don't think I can do that just with the Wedge Matrix, so I think I'm gonna combine it with some bag mapping and see if I can get that. But that's kind of my thought, is that the Wedge Matrix works really well for me, getting those distances, and it really helped me under 100 yards. So I want to take the same idea and extend it to 150, and we will use that as a starting point on these approach shots. So we've got SkyTrack up and running, but the reason I like using this in SkyTrack is because the software is so good. It's so user-friendly. It walks you through the Wedge Matrix and the bag mapping feature. It's very, very easy to do, and it gives you some very good reports at the end that I can print and save off, put in my golf bag or whatever. So let's get started. Okay, so in SkyTrack, I'm gonna go to Game Evaluation and go to Wedge Matrix. We're gonna get this set up here the way that I want it. Okay, so it's kind of telling you how it works. You're gonna want to do a pitch shot, a half swing, a 3/4 swing, and a full swing with each wedge. You can customize that, which I'm going to. So it's got 4 clubs here. Can't do more than that. And if I wanted to go, yeah, it's got all the irons grayed out. So I can't do what I want in one feature. I was right. So we're gonna do these 4 wedges, of course. I only want 3 swing types. I don't want to do the pitch. So I'm going to skip the pitch. I'm going to start with a half swing, then do a 3/4 swing, and then do a full swing with each club. We want to worry about carry distance. 5 per swing or per club, I think we are good to go. We'll hit apply. And now it's going to tell me we're starting off with a half swing of the lob wedge. My feel for a half swing is going to be lead arm parallel to the ground. Now, that's what I'm going to try and do, but I probably won't do that. I'll probably go a little bit farther, but it's just a feel. It's a little bit thin. .63 yards, and we're going to repeat this swing 5 times. .63 yards again. Might have been a little bit fat there. Seeing a pattern. Wow, way right on that one. Okay, that was 5 swings as a half swing. Now we're moving on to a 3/4 swing with the same lob wedge. For me, that's going to feel just kind of like my hands to my shoulder, and we will see where these end up. Everything with my wedges tends to have a little bit of a right tail, and that's where I kind of get into trouble because I like to draw the ball, and so if I really make sure I draw the ball, I get a lot longer of a distance, but that's usually what I'm trying to do. It's a little bit on the heel. Those weren't the most solid, but still pretty consistent. Now we're going to a full swing lob wedge. Now, with the wedges, I basically never make a full swing unless I'm behind a tree that I'm trying to get over or something like that. So that's kind of my thought with carrying over to my short irons is I'm usually playing those to a full swing distance, but maybe I should be doing more 3/4 swings with those short irons for accuracy to try and get my approaches better. That's the thought, at least. I really have no idea how far this goes. Okay, 94. Oh, it's bad contact on that one. Now, if I completely shank one, I will delete it. But if they're just kind of slight mishits, those are normal. Like, gonna have those all day on the golf course, so definitely want to include those. Push that one out to the right. Not quite as far because of that. Okay, that completes all the swings with the lob wedge. Moving on to my sand wedge, which is a 54 degree, and going back to a half swing. Okay, that one's 76 yards. A lot of draw spin on that for a short swing, so that might be a little bit long. Moving on to the 3/4 swing. I think the half swing, everything was kind of between 70 and 76 yards. All right, 3/4 swing, kind of hands at the shoulders. Lost that one a little bit right. Okay. All right, full swing with the sand wedge. Not a whole lot farther on that one. Well, hit the top of my enclosure there, so you can tell that one launched a little bit higher than all the others. SkyTrack shows it just to be at the top of the optimal range. Moving on to gap wedge, which for me is a 50 degree. I'll remind myself to really just stop it left arm parallel to the ground here because I feel like I'm getting a little bit too much. A little bit on the heel there. All right, half swing with the gap wedge. I kind of felt like that was not my best distance control there compared to a lot of the others. So I don't know if I just got a little bit tired or if there's something with that club and a little less loft. All right, 3/4 swing with the gap wedge. That one felt like a pretty good strike, and I expected that to start a lot straighter. SkyTrack had that showing starting very right. Either way, it was still a good shot there. All right, full swings with the gap wedge. Oh. Yeah, not a great hit. I think I felt it out on the toe. I'm gonna leave it in because, I mean, it still went straight. It's not very far off line. That's definitely gonna happen on the course. Not bad enough to delete. All right, seeing the dispersion circle get a little bit bigger, or at least where the dispersion circle would be, which should be expected as you go to a bigger swing. Moving on to my last club with the Wedge Matrix, which is the pitching wedge. We will review the Wedge Matrix, and then I'm gonna try and do the similar thing with some of my short irons using the bag mapping feature. Half swing with a pitching wedge. Not something I've ever really done, I don't think, on the course or in here. Okay. 3/4 swing with the pitching wedge. That one might hit the line. All right, full swing pitching wedge, and then I'm done with the Wedge Matrix. Not a whole lot further than the 3/4 swing. Yeah, supposed to be full swing. I'm starting to wonder if I was overdoing the 3/4 swing because the full swing with the pitching wedge does not seem to be much of a difference. That completes the Wedge Matrix. Let's look at the results. This is pretty much the main page here. You can see the matrix on the left, half swing, 3/4, and full swing with the different clubs. Obviously, you've got a graph view. You see kind of where things overlap. So if you look at like 73 and 74 yards, that could be a 3/4 lob wedge or a half swing sand wedge. At that point, it's like, what are you more comfortable with? Or do you want to keep it lower if there's more wind or what? At 91 yards, you've got a full swing lob wedge or a 3/4 swing sand wedge. I can tell you right now, I'm pretty much always taking the 3/4 swing sand wedge because I don't want to hit a full swing lob wedge. It's just too high, too much spin, dispersion's gonna be bigger. From there, you can kind of see it separates a little bit. Let's go to the next page. And here you've got the dispersion with the lob wedge. Interesting how the half swing was pretty much all to the right. Kind of evened out a little bit more when we got to a bigger swing. We'll see if that continues with the other clubs. So with the sand wedge, not as much. That's a little bit more even throughout the different swing lengths. Interesting here. You see that 3/4 gap wedge, everything was to the right. You don't really see that as much with the other clubs. What's up with that? I don't know. And here's the pitching wedge. You can see not a big difference there between the 3/4 and the full swing pitching wedge, which is what I was noticing out there. I don't know if maybe I gave the 3/4 a little bit too much. I should have backed off a little bit, but not a big difference there. Interesting. That's the Wedge Matrix. I'm gonna export this to a PDF so that I can print it or do something with it, basically save it. And I'm gonna refer back to this when I'm trying to get closer on these approach shots. And there it is. So I've got the same report plus all the individual swing data on the PDF. I can't do more than the wedges on the Wedge Matrix, and I want to do those short irons. So I'm going to try and do it in a bag mapping session. I have an idea of how I'm going to do it. I'm in SkyTrack still in bag mapping. We'll see if we can set this up in a way that will work. Okay, so we're not going to do all 13 clubs. What we're going to do is do 9-iron 3 times, and then we're going to do 8-iron 3 times. And so the first one for the club will be a half swing, the second one will be a 3/4 swing, and the third one will be a full swing. I think I should go ahead and try and do 7-iron as well. What is that? That is 9 clubs. There we go. The gap tolerance, intended gap, I'm not going to worry about that. 5 shots, each one, just like the other one. Oh man, I'm tired already. Let's go. All right, we got the 9-iron, doing a half swing. This is telling me it's club number 2. It's the same club, but I know this is going to be the 3/4 swing. Okay. Full swing with the 9-iron. Pull. That's all 3 with the 9-iron. A little bit beat. We're going to start again. We're now on the 8-iron half swing. So far I'm seeing about 120. All right, moving on, 3/4 8-iron. Wow. That went farther than I expected. That's about what I expect from a full swing. Okay, moving on to the full swing 8-iron. And that was definitely towed, should be short. One club left, 7-iron. I wanted to include 7-iron. I know my full swing will go more than 150 yards, but I want to see these half and 3/4 swings with the 7-iron. Not sure how much I'm going to use the half swing on the course with a 7-iron, but I do kind of want to know as a point of reference. So let's see how it goes. Oh. It's not the sound you want to hear. Ugh. Three-quarter swing, 7-iron. Now, that's about what I would expect for a full swing. We'll see if the same thing happens again with the 7-iron as it did with the 8-iron, where my full swing was not much longer. Okay, we made it. Full swing with the 7-iron. I hope this works. I hope this wasn't all for nothing, that the report that I get at the end is usable so I can just kind of extend the wedge matrix. That's what I'm hoping for. Not much farther at all there. That one I noticed, side spin is exactly 0. And obviously side angle 4 degrees, so it was a big push to the right. But the way that the ball flight is shown in SkyTrack, it really seemed like it was a fade, but really it was a dead straight push. Interesting how the software visualizes the ball flight. You know, it's different in different software. That looked like a fade, but it really wasn't. Last swing. Oh. Well, we're going to delete that one. Too much pressure on the last swing after all of this. Oh no! 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 It's not giving me the option to delete that one. Oh man. Okay. All right, let's see what happened. You got to be kidding me. So this is our bag mapping. Looking at this, it's a little bit confusing, but if you look at the first 3 on the left, those are obviously going to be my shortest swings with each club. Half a 9-iron is 109, half an 8-iron is 115, half a 7-iron is 127. That's what you would expect. But then going forward, you see 9-iron, 9-iron, 8-iron. So the second 9-iron is the 3/4 swing. The next one right after it is the full swing. So 129 to 137. You can see that my half and 8-iron ended up at 144. Wow, that's a lot. My full swing 8-iron ended up at 146. Then you've got your 3/4 7-iron at 158 and a full 7-iron at 161. So let's flip through these pages here and see what we've got. Okay, so that looks like everything. There's so much on there. I don't know that that's super helpful. Okay, but this is going to be the first 9-iron, so that's a half swing. This is kind of what I'm looking at. Average shot dispersion, 17 yards, average carry, 109. There's everything. Then my half 8-iron, 115, shot dispersion, 16 yards. Half 7-iron, 127 carry. Gosh, did I really have one, 105? Is that a different club? I guess not. 127 carry, average shot dispersion, 31 yards. Here would be my 3/4 9-iron. I just know because it's the next 9-iron, the second 9-iron. 129, 14-yard shot dispersion. And then here is the full swing 9-iron, 137. So not much difference there, but a much more wide shot dispersion. 8-iron, this is going to be the 3/4 8-iron at 144, 18-yard dispersion. And the full swing 8-iron, 146, 15-yard shot dispersion. Those are so close to being the same. Now we've got the 3/4 7-iron at 158, 17 yards dispersion. Now we got the full swing 7-iron at 161, but a 35-yard shot dispersion. A much wider shot dispersion between the full swing and the 3/4, but hardly any difference in distance. Maybe it's a bad sample, but that's kind of what I was getting at, was like, in my mind, 7-iron goes 165. But if I dial that back to like 158 or 160 and take a 3/4 swing, is that dispersion gonna get smaller, and is that gonna help me? I hope it helps. So we're definitely going to export this and save this PDF as well. I'm gonna dive into it and figure out everything I can from this so that hopefully I can improve my strokes gained on those 150-yard and in approach shots. I'm beat. Hopefully being so tired and doing so much all at once didn't affect the results, but we'll see. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am really looking forward to this game improvement stuff. I hope you are too. Don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe to let me know if you are excited about it. And we'll see you in the next video. Lots to do.